Jordynne Grace has made her NXT debut. We're going to talk about that. Plus, 2 AEW stars are gone from the company. It's coming up right here on The Ango Show. Welcome back to TAS. I want to kick things off with some very interesting news. First up, Arn Anderson says he is leaving AEW. He announced this on the Arn podcast that he will in fact be finishing up with AEW on May 31st when his contract expires. He went on to thank Tony Khan, Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, pretty much everybody there. Has a lot of respect for the company. Definitely not shocked by that by any means. There's been rumors that maybe Cody Rhodes wants a manager in WWE. There's rumors that maybe it could be Arn Anderson, which obviously would be kind of fun. Really just because of the fact that, Arn Anderson and Cody Rhodes have history together. And I think, in situations like this, man, you got to try something different, try something fresh. WWE doesn't have too many wrestlers with managers. This is one of those scenarios in which I would approve of it. Obviously, with Cody not being in AEW, and then obviously Brock Anderson no longer being in AEW, it didn't really make much sense for Arn Anderson to be there to begin with. Now, does he return to WWE in a producer, agent, training, NXT type of thing? Maybe. Maybe that's the case. Does WWE decide, hey, let's put him with Cody Rhodes? That could also be a very big possibility, and it would make a ton of sense if you're WWE to put him on TV because, again, it is something fresh and something new. He's not the only one leaving AEW. Jake Hager, a.k.a. Jack Swagger, is also leaving AEW. According to Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net, they have reported that sources have confirmed that AEW star Jake Hager's contract has also recently expired and that he did not re-sign with All Elite Wrestling, which now makes him a free agent. It was also believed that the decision for this was mutual. So not only was it Jake Hager deciding to leave AEW, but AEW decided not to use him. His last match was in February 23rd. He wrestled against Roderick Strong, and then obviously we haven't seen him since. Now, I don't know what to make of this. A lot of people are leaving AEW. Is it necessarily a bad thing? No, because they have a bloated roster, right? People are making these conscious decisions to leave the company or not re-sign with the company. At the end of the day, they're not being released. This isn't like something where they're just getting fired. So it's definitely more understandable. I think in situations like this, when you do have performers working for a company getting released as part of budget cuts, you guys know my thoughts on that. I don't typically like that. These aren't the same situations. Now, why are people leaving AEW? It could be for a variety of reasons, right? It could be for a variety of reasons. But I think it will be very interesting to see how this plays out because I do think Jake Hager could actually still wrestle. Now, whether or not he goes back to WWE, I don't know. Whether or not he goes to TNA, MLW, GCW, that type of thing, I don't know. But it could make sense for WWE to bring him back. Now, I'm not saying to bring him back on the main roster, but as somebody in NXT to come and be that veteran, help put people over, that type of thing, I could see that happening. If he wants to pursue a singles run, TNA is always an option, right? This is why it's so incredibly important to have a healthy wrestling industry. If you leave WWE and then you leave AEW, you want more options. So ultimately, I think that's like the best part about this, right? We've seen Jack Swagger in WWE. We've seen Jake Hager in AEW. Can he reinvent himself somewhere else? And there's other places where that could happen. And look, I'm just going to kind of throw this out there. Maybe this isn't a popular opinion, but I would never be against the idea of Jake Hager going to New Japan, right? There could be some really cool matchups there. So let's see what happens. And guys, that brings us to Jordynne Grace. I want to talk about this for a variety of reasons because Jordynne Grace was a massive surprise on tonight's episode of WWE NXT, and nobody expected this. There was no leaks about it. I know WrestleVotes had kind of teased that something was big, but it wasn't on the rundown. Nobody really knew what was happening, but it was revealed today that Jordynne Grace will in fact challenge Roxanne Perez for the WWE NXT Women's Championship. The forbidden door between WWE and TNA it's consistent, man. Like, these guys have some form of a relationship, and it's interesting considering that Scott D'Amore is no longer there. But this is cool. This is cool. It's nice to see WWE become friendlier with other promotions. And I'm glad that it's Jordynne Grace, because Jordynne Grace is a hell of a talent. If you guys have ever watched a Jordynne Grace match, you know that she's a great performer. And then you're going to put her in the ring with Roxanne. I think that's amazing. It's fresh, it's different, it's new for a fan who watches WWE. The best part about this segment, though, was really the reaction. Like, fans genuinely loved seeing this. And obviously, being in Orlando, Florida, the TNA chants were absolutely wild. It was a genuine shock. And in pro wrestling, we don't get too many of those. So I am very ecstatic about this. But let me just tell you guys, Jordynne Grace beating Roxanne Perez would be an absolute insane idea. But I kind of would be for it. If you really want to shake things up, I would have Jordynne Grace beat Roxanne Perez. And then I would have WWE send Roxanne Perez to TNA Slammiversary or something like that. Like, I want to see WWE talent go to TNA now. And there's talent who have not been utilized on television. Listen, if you have a relationship with TNA, help them out. You brought in Jordynne Grace, you brought in Naomi, send somebody there. And Roxanne Perez would be the perfect person. Like, I would not be opposed to the idea of these women dropping the belt, competing at a TNA pay-per-view, getting the belt back. Like, there's things that you can do to make it work. Some of those challenges obviously are, the biggest challenge really is the fact that TNA is pre-taped. But I feel like with enough planning, you can make something like this work. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know how it's going to go down. But this is exciting. We expect AEW to work with other companies because AEW set that expectation. WWE has been friendlier with GCW. They've been friendlier with All Japan Pro Wrestling. They've been friendly with TNA. But to have that expectation, it is slightly different because WWE historically isn't known for something like this. And that's my point. It's cool when AEW does it, and it's cool when WWE does it, but there is a different expectation for both companies. So the fact that somebody like Jordynne Grace gets this opportunity to be on a bigger stage while still being signed to TNA, I'm absolutely a big fan of it. Super excited to see how this goes down. And I just got to give props to WWE and Shawn Michaels here because it seems like there's a lot of things that maybe they won't do on the main roster, but they allow NXT to do them. And that is what differentiates NXT from the main roster brands. So I do appreciate that. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you guys think. This is absolutely insanity. Leave a comment down below. I'll respond to them. I just want to know how you're feeling.